This is Monday. This is Footy Prime. Everybody's here. It's a full house. Craig Forrest is here. To Craig Forrest, but it's Dan Wong. We've got Sharms, his last pod from LA before he flies out and joins us again and resumes hosting duties, which I'll be very, very happy about. Our JC is here recovering from his birthday extravaganza, and Jimmy Brennan recovering from TSN Jimmy. Hopefully we get TSN, a little bit of TSN Jimmy on the pod today. Looking forward to that. But if post defeat last time in the semifinals, so Canada lost 2-0 to Mexico last Thursday, was the Footy Prime Hangover Edition. Today is maybe Footy Prime Consolation Edition, because our men's national team, in a match that had a lot of meaning given the political climate, they were able to beat a very lackluster US team, but they were still able to get the result. So Craiger, I want to hear from you, because in your words, and maybe a Craig Forrestism, let's not get it twisted. This wasn't a trophy. This was third place in Nations League. But is that enough for Canada now on their way towards building next year for 2026?
Well, from that point of view, yes. But this team in the golden generation that we have, you want to get over that line. You want to win a trophy. I mean, third place. Yeah.
All it is better than fourth, right? Right.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the States deserve fourth. There's no question about that.
Right.
My God. Pochettino's got a massive job there. I don't know what he does with that group.
Yeah, that's going to be a struggle for sure. Big task at hand, but back to Canada. I think, was the performance enough? Maybe Jimmy, you can speak to this. You were covering it, as mentioned, for TSN. Did you see enough from Canada to qualify that? Not only were they able to beat the US and everything that meant for that group, perhaps even for Canadians, but was that enough to convince you that they're on the right track and this was a bounce back performance after a disappointing one versus Mexico?
I thought it was a very, very good performance right from the get-go. I thought the energy that they had, I thought the lineup that they got was bang on, putting Choinière in. I said before the match, I said the reason why I think Choinière is going into the middle of the park because he's the one that him and Kone can handle the energy and the pace of Tyler Adams and McKinney in the middle of the park. And I thought, for me, Choinière was one of the best players. He was just disrupting everything. Every time they tried to get in a rhythm, he was in the mix. And I thought Buchanan was great. I think we started to see the old Buchanan getting down the line, showing his pace. I mean, for me, the first few minutes of the match, when Buchanan gets the ball and knocks it past Scally, Scally was terrified after that because I don't think he just realized how quick Buchanan was. And I thought Ali Ahmed was very good as well. You know, coming in on the inside, it allowed, I mean, for the first 10 minutes for Davies, you could see he was already starting to get up the pitch, trying to get in behind. And then Ali Johnston ends up going to left back, who's a natural right footer. And I thought he was brilliant on the day. It's never easy, is it, when you're in the middle of a match and they're telling you to move over to the opposite side. But overall, I thought it was good. Ali Walsh, I thought he was good. You saw glimpses of what he could do. I mean, obviously he got his goal, but then there was a couple other chances that he missed. And you know what he's like. He needs 8 chances to get that one goal. So I think with that position as well up top, I think that's going to be a little bit of time to see who fits in there with David, whether it's going to be Promise David, whether it's going to be Jebison, whether it's going to be Tammy. Who knows who's going to end up filling that position, but overall, I thought the back line was good. I thought, again, Bombito was absolutely excellent. Just the way that he reads the game, and he always seems to be in the right position. I feel he's going to get a big money move soon. I'd be surprised if he doesn't end up getting a big move. Cornelius, again, for me, was very good. Cigar, when he came in, he was great. Dane, I mean, Stacks, you could probably talk a little bit more about him and what your thoughts were for him throughout the match. But overall, I thought it was a very good performance. Just the way that they started, I thought they got everything right. I would have liked to see that against Mexico. And we didn't see that.
Can't have everything, Jimmy.
We didn't see that tenacity. We didn't see that urgency, did we? Like we did against the States. There's an awful lot of positives that they can build off of. Yeah, do they have some work to do? Absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's all about winning trophies, isn't it? And we've we've yet to win it with this squad, but hopefully they can build on that performance that they had against the States.
You mentioned Tajon there. I thought he played really well as well, and he was very instrumental on the Jonathan David goal. If you watch his little run, the defender completely gets sucked in, expecting the pass from Jonathan David to Tajon, and he just uses that run as a disguise to come on to his left foot and finish it brilliantly. But the movement was off the ball with Tajon was impressive as well.
Yeah, but don't you think, Stacks, in that situation, you just see how world-class Jonathan David is, where he can actually realize that Buchanan's making a run in behind. McKenzie's got to go with Buchanan because he thinks that ball's getting threaded. And as soon as McKenzie just turns his hips a little bit, then David chops it and bends it into the corner. Now, you see a lot of strikers, they'll panic in those situations, or they'll turn and they'll look to smash it. But his composure, where he just comes inside, it opens up and just bends it in the corner. I mean, I watched an interview after with Thierry Henry, and he was talking to Jonathan David, and he said as well, he goes, you know what? He goes, you've proved that you are world class. He goes, you know, when you first came to Lille and obviously coming to Ligue 1, you know, we didn't know what to expect from you. He goes, but you are an absolute amazing striker.
His attitude is excellent as well, and how he just has a very short memory, and he just keeps plugging away, even when things maybe not going too well for him. And then bang, it's just absolutely brilliant.
I wonder if, sorry, Dubs, I wonder if Thierry Henry had a little whisper in his ear afterwards about his next move. Arsenal, Barcelona, two teams that Henry knows really, really well, both looking for a striker this summer. Nice fit.
And John David did say, who knows, I may even stay at Lille. Which is I think
did he say that? Did he?
He did.
He did.
He's not staying at Lille.
No, he's not.
He said if I stay at Lille, okay, but if I leave, then I'm going to go to a top club.
Yeah, but he didn't have to say the first bit, right? Which I found interesting. A little bit of gamesmanship, maybe.
Yeah,
from him.
Well, he's also a legend at Lille, and he doesn't want to say the wrong thing about the club either.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Sharms, because what Forrest is talking about, how integral Buchanan was, and I loved his spirit, the way that he tried the 1v1 duel, wasn't successful, turned and faced on and took on that player again in order to get Ahmed set up to even thread the ball through to Jonathan David. And then his class, his quality, we know what he can do, but it had been a while since we'd seen it for Canada. And so like that run by Tajon to bring the US defender kind of, or just give him a little bit of space, give him that gap that he needed. He's doing that simultaneously, or his awareness is happening as he's taking that first touch with his left foot. Then the chop that Jimmy's talking about is next as he sees that he's got the space for the shot, and then he bends it in with his left foot. So Sharms, do you think that the biggest call from Marsch's perspective, I mean, you speak a little bit about David, but was it to change that attacking tandem to bring in Oluwaseyi with David, or was it to remove Eustachio and to insert Choinière?
Yeah, I think the biggest move may have been the Eustachio omission. Now, Jesse said before the game how he's looking at minutes, how many minutes these guys have, trying to manage it. And that's why the Eustachio is going to be the starting central midfielder for this team. And quite honestly, if Tajon isn't the starting right winger this time next year, then that's Tajon's fault. He's the best winger we have, in my opinion, by some margin. And yeah, he's had a tough year. He broke his leg, and you speak to anyone that's broken their leg, you can't just come back, hit a switch, and you're back where you were. It can take you a season to get back to where you were. And he's getting minutes. I think he started for Villarreal for the first time just before this tournament. Let's hope he gets more minutes between now and the end of the season, because I really like Ali Ahmed a lot. I like Shaf on the left. There's some options there, but Tajon's class when he's on his game, and we saw glimpses of that yesterday. So I think Jesse is really anxious to get him back in there. So yeah, I still don't know what the starting 11 is going to be the World Cup. No one does. I was hoping to see Promise get some minutes over the last couple of games. Oluwaseyi deserves the opportunity. He jumped in last year. He shows flashes. He took his opportunity well, but I think Promise provides more promise, which we're going to be saying that kind of bullshit next little while, aren't we?
Maybe we can workshop it a little bit. I think we can do better.
I think we can, yeah. Toby provides promise because he goes by Toby. That's what he goes by his name. And obviously Dan Jefferson, who did get some minutes in the first game. But yeah, back to Tajon. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't. If you look at the ceilings of the players in this team right now, the wide players, no one's ceilings as high as Tajon's.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think you heard, was it Marsch discussing it, or maybe it was his compatriots, like his fellow players, remarking upon his form and the level, his quality in camp, just in the glimpses that they saw, that it's the Tajon of old. But I think it's an important point that you're making, is that I think we're close to seeing the Tajon Buchanan, the impact that he can have, like going back to World Cup qualifying. Tajon Buchanan scoring against Jamaica and doing a round off back flip, right? Like that's the Tajon Buchanan, like that electric kind of feel. Yeah. That he brings.
Swagger.
Yes, it's the swagger. It's all of that. And the confidence. I think he's not close to that yet, but he's getting there. And that's encouraging to see. But so Marsch made 3 changes to his starting 11 from Thursday's semifinal. And then he was forced into a fourth in the 12th minute when Davies went down with an injury. It looks like it's a knock more than it is re-aggravating that kind of pesky hamstring issue that he seems to have, that he's perennially kind of dealing with. But Seager, I don't know, Jimmy, what you said a high bar for yourself, because you're in your assessment of the match, you kind of went through the starting 11. So I was really impressed with that. I was also impressed with the fact that you called Alistair Johnston, and Sharms and I go back and forth. Is it AJ? Is it Ali? And you called him Ali Johnson, which my brain had to do a little bit of gymnastics there. I was like, who the hell is he talking about? Oh yeah, Alistair. But Nico Seager comes in and takes a little bit of time, couple of touches, couple of moments in the match to find his footing, but he very quickly gets up to speed and did a really admirable job, gave a really good account of himself, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was good when he came in. Obviously, like a big match like that, the tempo I thought was very, very good throughout the match, and it takes a little bit of time to get settled in. That's why I was happy that he got a few touches early. His first pass was good, his second, and then obviously there was a couple after that. But once he settled into the match, I thought he was very good defensively. I thought he worked well with the back line, worked well with Buchanan that was in front of him. He defended well. He was aggressive. I liked his approach throughout the match. I thought it was very good for me.
And Forrest, Jimmy was talking earlier about Dane Sinclair, again, in his rundown of the starting 11, most players who got minutes. But what you're feeling for Sinclair is that across those 2 matches, I think Canada collectively did the job defensively, well organized, didn't give the opponents very many clear-cut opportunities. But when Sinclair was called upon to make a save, he was unable to do it. Do you think he should have done better on that U.S. goal by Agyman?
No, I wouldn't blame him for that, certainly. And he came up with a big save later on. He had to set up a wall a few times. I thought his distribution was good. His feet were great for a big man. But yeah, he'd be hoping to save that shot down. I don't think he hit it all that well, but well enough to get it through his legs, I suppose. He got a piece of it, but you'd be wanting to save that. But I don't blame him, but you got to come up with that save. But
it does seem that he's got the gloves currently. Well, he does seem that way currently. I mean, back-to-back games. And we know that Jesse clearly likes a big goalkeeper. And I love this word we're using now more and more in goalkeepers, profile. He's got the profile of a modern goalkeeper, right? It's a modern word, isn't it, I think, in football. And I like using it too. He sounds smart.
Sharms, I have to stop you there because I just found out this weekend when I was coaching with the U16 provincial team, it's not a goalkeeper anymore. It's actually a goal player.
No.
What?
I'm sorry, but I object.
Yeah.
Jimmy, please explain.
That is the lingo that they were using, a goal player.
Why?
Because so much of the play starts from the goal player at the back. They're very involved in the play.
Game's going.
That's not woke. That's broke.
Goal player.
There he is. There's our Dan Wong.
Thank you. That is broke right there. Oh. So anybody who
I don't.
They're changing things for some. Yeah.
No, I object.
It's the stupidest thing ever.
Right.
Who came up with that?
Well, it's inclusive.
No, don't.
Fair enough.
No, they're already included in the lineup. Everybody's a player.
they are
It's
important.
redundant. It'd be like saying striker player, midfield player,
Yeah.
winger player.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all players.
When a
You're
goal
always a
player be a
goalkeeper.
striker?
God damn it.
Plus, you have different rules as a keeper. That's what makes you different. As a keeper, there are different rules around your position.
And there's nothing
Dan, I'd
offensive about
appreciate it if you
keeper.
called it goal player.
Okay.
Is this a Canadian thing? Is it a global thing? Is it taking the world by storm?
I don't
Or is it
know, buddy. I heard it. You know what I'm like. I just shook my head and walked away.
just-
But you had no reaction to it in the moment. You just let it wash over you and you didn't object. You just continued on with your coaching duties.
Well, there was a what the fuck are you talking about?
That was audible. You said that out loud.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then
I'm proud
My
of you, Jimmy.
team, my teams, there's no goal players. All right.
but it made me say goalkeeper even more. I just found myself.
You leaned into it, didn't you, Jimmy?
Yeah,
Leaned into keeper.
right into
Well,
it.
what do they identify as being a keeper? I identify as being a keeper, not a player. In that
Oh,
case, they have no choice. What, Dubs? What?
nothing. Jimmy was already alluding to identifying as a certain term, and I was hoping to just transition out of it.
Yo, come on.
We didn't. Okay.
Hey, Dubs, can I ask you a question? You brought up what needed to happen. JP, your husband's analysis. Did that happen last night? The 3 prongs of victory. Break that down for me. Did that
Right. Were
work?
you around for that, Sharms?
No, I wasn't.
JP is talking about across sports in big games. You need 3 things to happen. You need your big guns to show up and be your big guns. You need what was the second one? You need your keeper to come up big for you on a
Player.
couple of
Wild
occasions.
card.
Goal
Yeah,
player.
your goal player. I'm not saying that. Goalkeeper to come up big for you on a couple of occasions. Save your bacon, as it were. And then you need a wild card. You need somebody to show up on the day, surprises themselves, surprises their teammates, surprises the opponent.
Okay.
And Canada was, in my estimation, was 0 for 3 in that regard versus Mexico. So maybe let's go around well, Sharms, what do you think? How did Canada do in that regard versus the US?
So top players, John Davies scored, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Fonzie pulled out obviously early in the game. I don't know whether he should have started or not. Whether it's a knock or a niggling injury.
Mhm.
So that didn't work out. But John David, big guns, came through. Did Dane Sinclair make the saves? Perhaps not, but didn't need to in the end.
In the second half, he made a good save.
Yeah, he was fine. I mean, I'm not pointing any fingers at Dane
Yeah.
Sinclair.
He didn't have much to do.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah,
No, he
precisely.
didn't.
Right, but Stex,
and
sorry,
the wild
but
card.
Stex, you know when you're saying he doesn't have much to do. I mean, the first half against Mexico. Look, I apologize, Dubs, but I want to.
No, it's just because Sharms is
correct this.
one away from just answering that
Yeah.
question, and then we could have moved on after. But you go ahead, Jimmy.
Forrest. Okay, you can take control in a minute. Hold on. But Forrest, Mexico has 3 shots in the first match. He lets in 2 goals. Okay. Second game against the States, he has 2 shots and lets in 1 goal. I mean, surely it's got to be a lot better than what he's showing at the moment.
Well, yeah. I mean, certainly the second goal against Mexico, the wall's not set up properly. And then the first goal against the United States, you could argue you should make that save. But like we're talking about as far as his profile goes, he does seem to like the 6'3", 6'4" goalkeeper for sure. Max Crepo must be wondering what's going on. A few players will be wondering what's going on.
Well,
But-
I mean, Dubs, I'll finish off my point in a second. But
Thank you,
just
Sharms.
if you look at the goalkeepers, and we talk about the depth Canada has, right? And potentially they do, but the number 2, Max Crepo, isn't playing right now for his club. The number 3 right now, McGill, has been called back to Brighton, isn't playing. So there's great depth. One of the top 3 goalkeepers apparently starts for his club. Maybe it's not what we thought it was. Back to the third point, I would say Tani Alawashe, is he one that stood up? He scored the goal, right? Like Jimmy said, he maybe could have had a couple.
Yeah,
But-
maybe that's Chouanier in there for.
Maybe Chouanier, played well. Yeah,
Eusebio.
exactly. But I think you didn't need to have the trifecta of performances because the States was so awful.
Also true. Yeah,
And
you're
they
really
were. They really were.
you're a really good pod player, Sharms.
Thanks.
You might be our
Dubs.
best pod player.
That's that's
You
4
and I,
actually.
we're like the pivot in the midfield. We dictate the show. You know, I go, you go, I drop back, you drop back. and then we'll allow the luxury players to come in and do their thing and get all the credit.
That's right. Yeah. Go for all the glory.
So you find it interesting that, with Alphonso Davies going down and how well they play without him.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
happens right
qualifying for the World Cup.
I have that written down, Kreger. I have it written down.
He missed half of the games in the World Cup qualifying. You could argue they played better without him.
So what are you saying, Craig?
It's just an interesting situation where he tries so hard and tries too much that he has never found that balance with the national team as he does, obviously, with Bayern Munich, which is a completely different animal.
I was speaking to someone pretty high up in Canadian football, and they were saying not since the Panama game in qualifying has Fonzie really shown what he can do for his country. And I thought the same thing for a while. And listen, we all love Fonzie, man. He's world class. Obviously, Fonzie is going to start right when he's healthy, clearly. But he's got to look in the mirror, I think, and figure out what is he bringing to this team, because that trying to throw the team on his shoulders and take over games isn't working. It just isn't.
It's not, but it's not just Alphonso Davies himself and his performance. You have to look at everything around that. You have to look at the aura and, the world-class talent that the opponent then fears when he's part of that starting 11. That's part of it. And it's also what his teammates are doing, the constant deferential attitude, we'll leave it to Fonzie to do it. And then I think that he might feel that energy, and then that contributes to him trying to do everything himself, existing in isolation constantly without pulling his teammates along. I think it's not quite as bad as it used to be, but it's still an issue where we can't get an elevated performance out of Alphonso Davies that's happening in concert with an elevated collective. So Canada will only be at its best when you can do those two things. So I don't know how you feel about it, Jimmy, when you're watching, say, the Mexico match. We don't see enough of him versus the USA, and we don't ever really know because he goes out in the 12th minute. But do you see that as an issue plaguing Canada Jesse Marsch has talked about 6 international windows before next year's World Cup. So is this something that he's maybe addressing internally with his captain?
Sorry, say that again, Dubs.
It was a lot of words. So right now you're our tourist pod player right now, Jimmy. You're going to be off the bench next game. I just
want a little bit of clarity because I didn't really understand what you're saying. Say it
Alphonso Davies.
Yeah.
And all the nuances surrounding him wanting to do it himself. Is this something internally that Marsch is having conversations with his captain about?
I don't think he wants to do it all himself. I think what happens is he a team player? Yeah, he tries to be, but when they're down, they're chasing the game, he feels that he's got to do that little bit extra. And I think that's where he finds himself in trouble, when he's trying to dribble out of the back and he's trying to take that extra touch, take that extra player on. I think Davies is best when he plays simple. But that's his issue right now, is that when they're down and they're chasing the game, he feels he's the captain, he's the leader, he's the big player. He has to take control, and that's my problem with him. That's the biggest issue that he has. But I like Davies when you see glimpses of him, when even against the States in the first number of minutes where Aliami comes inside, his starting position's a lot higher. He's getting in behind. We showed it in the pregame. Just where he's at his best, getting in behind defenders. He needs that space, and when he's utilized correctly. You can see the real Fonzie come out, but if he's not, and he's asked to do more than what he should be doing, that's where the issue is.
Do you think, and I have no idea, so that you guys that played and captain teams, do you think when you put an armband on certain players, they do try too much? They put too much in themselves, that a player like Fonzie's better to be just play football, son. Don't worry about anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right, Sharms. It does. And that depends on the individual, what his characteristics are like. Some individuals, when they do get an armband, it goes to their head a little bit and they feel they've got to do more and be somebody that they're not. Others can take that responsibility and nothing changes. They remain the same individual. yeah, I think that's part of the reason is when that armband's on him, and he feels he's got to take control and he's got to do that extra. And that's the issue at times. And we all know that. We all know that when he gets on it and he wants to dribble through half the team and he takes those extra touches, that's him trying to be the man and trying to take control and do something for his team and country.
Maybe to be what he thinks everybody else believes, Marsch included, his teammates, and it might be misguided, but what he thinks they believe a captain should be. And then that's why there's a disconnect. Like he's not fully authentically Fonzie the player as captain because he's trying to be different. He's trying to assume a different role or a different vibe or energy out there. Whereas to me, in stark contrast to that, is Alistair Johnston, who gets the armband when Fonzie goes off. And he was a monster performance for me on the left. Never played there in his life.
Yeah,
and
at any level.
Exactly. So, I mean, to me, what encapsulated and epitomized Alistair Johnston was that great block when he was actually on the right at that point, and then a tackle. And it looked like I was a little bit worried because his kneecap didn't look very good. He got a stud clearly to the top of his knee, and then he just soldiered on and didn't miss a beat. But it looked really sore. But 90 minutes of brilliant football, I thought, Craig, from Alistair Johnston.
Yeah, I thought he was just incredible. The Americans couldn't handle his long throws. It caused quite a bit of trouble.
Yes, weapon.
It was, yeah. Yeah, some teams deal with it better, and I thought the Americans struggle with that. And then he put a great ball in with his left foot.
Yeah,
probably the best ball of the game for Canada.
Like he's looking a bit uncomfortable on the left. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
No, I just said not loving the left because he was cutting inside so much onto his right because he's not a left-footed player. He never played.
That's okay.
That's all I said. And then suddenly it's like, holy shit, he's playing really well. And then that ball.
Yeah, you could see certain things he did. Like he was on the left, and even if one time he passed the ball inside, and he came inside, he wanted to switch it to the right. You could see he was almost wanting to be pulled back over to the right side, you know. But
wasn't that block on the
play there? He embraced it.
Wasn't that block on the right hand side?
Yeah, it was.
He came across for it. That knee, by the way, if you watch Canada Soccer doing a great job with their content, Max Bell, he's freaking brilliant. What he shoots. I'm not sure who's producing the stuff, but I wish I did because it's really good stuff. But they're on the YouTube channel there, these kind of raw training, and they're in the room, and I forget who it was making fun of Alistair's knees and that particular knee because it was so like misshapen. That's before the game. That was like training this week. Gnarled. He goes live as a defender. It's like what a legend. I love the guy. It's brilliant.
I'm glad you mentioned him too, only because he was my other Top Gun going back to JP's 3 ways to victory.
Was he
other
your
than
mom?
the US.
Was he your mom on the day, Wonger?
Yes, he's my mom.
It's like Wonger. It's MOTM, man of the match. And Wonger's like, nope, it's mom.
I'm gonna
man
introduce you
match.
Man of match because you don't always put a T in for an acronym. We all know that.
True. Yes.
Right? If we're going to
that's true,
actually, be pedants here.
It's a wasted letter in an acronym.
Exactly. I'm just
Sometimes
saying.
It's necessary.
I also wanted to talk about short memory. Over the weekend, while cooking, I left the burner on twice on low. And I was thinking, oh, short memory. I keep forgetting it. But then I also realized I ate fried chicken all weekend because there was so much left over. So Craig, I realize now there's a direct correlation between eating fried chicken and leaving burners on. Just so everyone knows, allegedly.
You become a goldfish.
That's right.
I think I was getting scurvy this week. I'm pretty sure. There's so little to eat around here.
Didn't
Nobody
Cara, as a vegan, lead you to make healthier choices?
Yeah, Cara actually offered to bring some healthy food to the press box yesterday. I declined because their burgers are quite good. But I've eaten very few vegetables all week, and like for the first 5 days, no veg because there's nothing around.
Amazing,
shit.
right?
So I've been eating shit food, and my gums began swelling up. I'm pretty sure it's scurvy. So the last couple of days, I've been searching for vegetables. Maybe it's ginger. Yeah, I've got to brush my teeth.
Scurvy.
Yeah. No, but halitosis.
You got some bad breath, sailor.
Halitosis.
Not good.
Halitosis, gingivitis, and scurvy, Sharms. The trifecta of disease.
And my short-term memory is terrible as well.
Mouth like a wheelie bin.
Dubs, can I jump the gun here? Maybe you had
Please.
this lined up, but the whole US Canada narrative, which we're loving to focus on here in Canada as media and as fans, I really don't think the players give a shit. I really don't. I think we're making a massive, massive overstatement that they care about that. Most of them are based in Europe, and of course they're asked questions, and they're staying well out of the political side. But when they say, I don't really follow politics, I kind of believe them. And I don't think this match had any more weight at all on them, other than it's the States. And it was a third place game. And well, it's nice, but I don't think they're going in the room saying, we beat the fuckers. Yeah. The hell to you, orange scrotum. They don't. Sure.
Well, the Americans obviously didn't care with the amount of people at the match.
Yeah.
There was I think there was more on the podcast than in studio. In stadium.
Jimmy, you were nodding when Sharms was saying that. You agree with that? It was just a
absolutely.
third place
Of
match.
course. No, it's a third place match, but the players don't care about all that in politics, and they're playing against the Americans. They want to beat them. They want to put on a good performance, head back home with a good result. They're not into all that nonsense. I wouldn't be either if it was all happening.
So Alphonso Davies, who lives in Munich, his amazing lifestyle. Is he on, the Toronto Star's website every day, CBC, like looking at the political temperature in Canada? No, he's not.
If you think they are, you're nuts. They don't care. The footballers that want to play, they're not into the whole political thing.
It's inspiring, though.
What's that?
It's inspiring.
You think so for the players?
Like an added source of
For us.
motivation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
They're wanting to annex us. Come on.
I don't
If
know.
it's brought up,
Stacks,
right?
you don't mind politics. But if you were playing when you were younger, you flew over from England, you're playing the game, you want to beat the Yanks, it doesn't matter what's going on.
Yeah, no.
Now you're older, you get into politics, you start to understand it more. When you're 22 years old, 23 years old, you guys are telling me you guys were into politics back then? No chance.
I was.
You're following it, and
I
I
did a
think
poli
you're doing
sci
a
degree.
disservice to players. Like you hear Eustachio talk about it, you hear Alistair Johnston talk about it. Like I think,
Well, because they're forced to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say
Yeah.
there's some that
Well,
are
they
and some
because you're
aren't.
asked questions about it. You're forced
Yeah.
to.
Do you really think they're going to bed last night, like thinking, man, yeah? Other than they beat their rivals who are always their rivals. They always want to beat the States. You guys have told us this. They are the team you want to beat. There's that.
sure, but there was
as
that
far as
extra
anything
little
else,
bit.
I don't know. I really
I
don't think
think
there was.
I think there was. I'll provide the rebuttal or the counterpoint to that. I think there was an added little bit of motivation or something there. Marsch showing the 3 fights in 9 seconds at the beginning of the U.S.
Right.
The U.S. Canada
Which the States started.
contest
The
in
US started,
Four
right?
Nations. Yes,
And
but
then the final was nothing.
I think Marsch he's not dictating or he's forcing them to care, but he's creating an environment where he's cultivating and sort of enriching that environment with the political landscape. Not to say you must care about this, but he's making sure that even the players who don't care to be informed, he's making sure that at least they are aware. And then how much importance they give it is up to the individual. But I think collectively as a team, I think it absolutely was discussed. And I think it factored into them being up for that match.
No, they were aware because they had no choice because we asked them about it every fucking day this past week.
Yeah, but internally, Sharms could then say, not Sharms, Marsch, you weren't coaching.
Well, actually, Sharms and Marsch spelled backwards. It's almost the
No, the Enneagram.
Anagram?
Oh, yeah. What's an Enneagram again? Oh, yeah, it's like a personality thing you can do. An Enneagram.
I think
There's
that's
an
a made-up
anagram. No, it's not. You can, you can.
I'm just messing with you,
Anagram is
Dubs.
What's the acronym for an Enneagram?
Hey, can we talk about backwards Sharms, which is Marsch losing his shit? Was that real?
Yeah,
was that a real thing? Was Dubs shared on the dark web? I think it was performative.
It better not be. He's going to be freaking in the stands the next game. It better not be for real. You better not do that on purpose.
I don't know. What would he? Can I ask? What would a manager have said to get you red carded? What is the line? Because I don't know. I haven't seen that in a while. I forget the last time I've seen a coach getting dismissed like that. But what do they have to say to get dismissed?
Call him a cheat.
Is that what it is? Is it that the line?
Stacks
Could
of
be.
red.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. The minute you call the referees a cheat,
Okay.
that's where they take massive offense to that.
Mm-hmm.
And
They would rather be called a dickhead than a cheat.
so does the head referee need to hear that, or can that be reported from the side ref, all that kind of stuff around? Like, how does that get delivered to the ref if they don't actually hear it? Or do they have to hear it?
The assistant referee, one of those. It certainly wasn't the match official that would have heard it, I don't think. I think it was relayed to the official. And then the red card came. Who I actually thought the official did very well, considering how shit the men have been. Just saying.
No kidding.
So I'll just say from my perspective, I think he was genuinely kind of felt insulted by the fact that it's not going to VAR again. The second one, so the first one, there's actual contact by Adams on David in the box. I still don't think it's a penalty, but I think he's already feeling aggrieved. He's already feeling irritated. He's already feeling that Canada doesn't get a fair shake in CONCACAF, right? So that ratchets up the intensity. And then the second one, it's a slip, as clear as day. David takes a great touch. I think it's across, is it Arifa? No, whoever the defender is for the US. But then doesn't get the shot off and then tries to cut it back, loses his footing and falls over. Also not a penalty. But I think he's feeling at that point, he's so wound up. And then this is the aspect here where I feel it was performative, is in the Mexico game, the players didn't provide a response, right? Or the appropriate response in Marsch's mind to elevate their play after they were challenged, after they were kind of put to the test and had to deal with adversity. So he makes sure that the spotlight is on them, much like Sharms said in the presser the day before. He felt like Marsch was too positive. He felt like the players should be challenged a little bit more. I thought that was Marsch shielding them publicly. And I think this was a public show of support to his players. Like, I'm pissed off about it. I'm going to take all that. And then maybe he doesn't think he's going to get tossed from the game, but he does. And then the player's response to that was incredible, because to hear Johnny David talk about it, he's thinking like, that is our coach going to bat for us. So that's where I think I don't think it was premeditated. I don't think it was calculated, but I think he's feeling like the energy of the situation. He's like, well, fuck it, man. I may as well go all in on this shit. And I think it was worth it from that.
Were they winning? Was it 2-1 at the time?
It was a 1-0.
Was it 1? Oh, it was, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he even got to a monitor before Canada scored.
Oh, he didn't.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, he was jogging. They were showing him jog.
Down the tunnel there.
But that was great.
Maybe had he not watched the 3 fights from the hockey game before the match, he wouldn't have been quite as up.
He was all amped up.
Amped up, yeah. Like the players weren't so much, but he was.
But it was maybe like, I'll be emotional. I'll be over the top. So you guys stay composed. You guys stay measured. And you have the appropriate response, which is to keep going, keep driving, and kind of step on the throat of this American team. Then they're not going to have an answer for what you guys throw at them.
He's an emotional guy, Jesse Marsch, though, right? I mean, as well-spoken as he is, he's extremely emotional. And he got into some shit at Leeds on the sidelines over the years, year and a half, wherever he's there. Mm-hmm. He's not a stranger to upsetting referees. So it's kind of in his MO as a coach. He is very vocal on those sidelines.
It's a difficult job, and keeping your emotions in check from time to time, especially when Canada, you look at the history of our national team, just littered with bad calls. Littered. It shows you how hard it is to win, down there.
I don't think we're ever going to get any favors. Like, I think that we're wrong. Again, to use a Craig Forrestism, don't get it twisted. We're never going to get to a point, no matter how much clout we have in CONCACAF, where we're going to be getting calls that are going to go in our favor. Mm-hmm. We're never going to be done any favors from CONCACAF. So we have to make sure that we're better every single outing. In the semifinal clashes against Mexico, who continue to be the giants of CONCACAF, right? Yeah. No matter who's
Panama got a call very similar.
Yes, Forrest. We were going to get there too. Thank you for bringing it up. So it was almost the exact same non-call versus Cornelius that led to Panama and Carrasquilla stepping up and slotting that home to tie the game 1-1. it was almost exactly the same call.
Wait,
Jimmy,
so
did you want to?
saying,
Yeah.
So you're saying that Panama gets calls, but Canada doesn't get calls.
Well, Panama don't get the calls either. Most generally,
Panama doesn't get them.
Yeah.
You know, I think with the Canadian game and the foul on Cornelius, when the ref just had no interest about VAR, I would rather him just be completely honest and just say to the players, look, lads, here's the situation. We can't have you in the final. We have to have Mexico. Will Smith is playing before the match, and Will Smith isn't going to play in front of 2,000 people. He needs 60,000 people, and we need Mexico in that final. Then the players would say, you know what? Okay, fair enough, ref. Yeah, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
No, you know what they'd say, Jimmy? They'd say, I can get jiggy with that.
we were doing our hit, me and Caro, after the match. In the background, we're hearing that song. Yeah, and we're doing our hit, and it's like, wait a minute, he's getting jiggy with it. Damn it, I'm gonna miss it.
Yeah,
the Canadians would be okay with that, just if it was delivered that way.
Speaking of bounce back performances, was that it for Will Smith?
Oh God, no. He's unwatchable to me.
No,
I can't watch him
I didn't
in
watch
anything.
it either.
The redemption walk is beginning at the Gold Cup, beginning at the Nations League, of all things.
Right.
It's the first time I'd even heard his name mentioned since Chris Rock.
Yeah,
got into the
Exactly.
Oscars.
I have a hard time watching him at all on anything. I know this is not, but maybe we should be talking about U.S. men's team also unwatchable.
Yeah.
Who was more unwatchable, Will Smith or the American?
Craig, Jimmy,
national team?
Dubs. Yeah. What do you think?
they were pathetic. They got a lot of issues there. Mind you, keep in mind, in 10 years, they're going to win a World Cup. They're going to be the best in the world.
But
I heard that
Potch
10 years
says,
ago. I'm
Yeah.
sure I heard that 10 years ago, Jimmy, as well.
Yeah, I heard it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. They're always
Potch
just-
did not
just on
look
the brink,
happy
right there.
on the sideline. I think his paunch grew a little bit on Potch.
Constantino.
Potch's punch.
Yes, Pochettino. While he was sitting there, he was he looked like Grumpy Sharms a little bit. Just the facial changes. He was quite like reserved, and maybe that's they said he read the
Resigned.
riot act. Pardon me.
He was resigned.
Resigned, even worse.
It's a fine line.
Even worse.
Reserved and resigned.
I think he's wondering, fuck, why did I get caught up in all the hype of this team? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They're average.
Well, did
Oh
you
my
see
God,
during-
Pulisic, who's supposed to be their leader. I think they said he touched the ball 3 times, something like that. It was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Do you know did you see as well before the free kick where they wanted a substitution? Pulisic was supposed to come off, and he said no.
Oh,
Mhm.
really? No, I didn't
And
see
Pop
that.
yeah.
was going crazy on the sideline.
Yeah, he wanted to take the free kick.
Was that
Yeah, but
after he was harassed by Kone for about 10 or 15 yards?
Oh, that was crazy.
Was it that
Harassed.
kick?
That was a mugging.
Yeah.
But in that case, so you are the free kick taker for your national team. There's a free kick on the edge of the box. Great position. Like, if you're the coach, why are you taking him off then? Why are you just waiting a couple of minutes?
Did you see his free kick?
Like, it wasn't great.
Terrible. He
Although
was
the
having
wall-
an
the
absolute
walls
nightmare
split.
of a match.
The
So
wall
you probably
split
can
again.
Get
You
him
notice
off.
that?
I mean, the plan was to get him off anyways, and the play dictated that there was going to be a free kick.
Mm.
And even then, when a manager calls you off, you got to get off the pitch. Can't turn your manager. No, I'm not going.
Yeah, they got a big time Charlie attitude.
Yeah, but when you're Christian Pulisic and you are on the same level as Lionel Messi, according to who was that? Was that Megan Rapinoe said that, or was it
Megan
Abby Wambach?
No, it was the
Carly Lloyd, maybe?
Oh, maybe Carly Lloyd.
It was
actually.
Carly Lloyd.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, maybe he bought into that. Goes, I will tell you, Poch, when I get taken off.
Yeah.
I didn't
It's
even
not
see him out
good.
there. I didn't see him out there for 2 games. He was invisible.
Listen, I want to spin it back to Canada just before we wrap here. Like when we were talking about Fonzie, we were talking about Alistair, we talked about Ali Ahmed having a really good game, moving from the right flank to the left flank. I mean, he basically engineered both Canadian goals. We talked about the influence of Tajon on David's goal, but it's Ali Ahmed with the pass on both. So that when we think about Alphonso Davies and pulling the best out of him, is it about these partnerships? Because remember, I think the brightest he's looked perhaps since Panama, as you were saying, Sharms, or as this person high up in Canadian soccer was saying, it's the last time we've seen really Fonzie be at his best. When Liam Miller was healthy and playing, there was something interesting happening on that left flank with that partnership with Alphonso Davies and Liam Miller. So when you were looking ahead, not to the Gold Cup, because I think a lot of these big players will be missing. So it might be a chance to see the likes of a little bit more of Promise David and some other youth and the depth in this roster. But leading up to the World Cup, is it time to experiment? Is it time to put different players on that left flank to see who is going to be able to elevate Fonzie's play if he can't do it himself in a Canadian kit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Liam Miller's he's out for the season, unfortunately, so we won't see him until the summer at the earliest, but I doubt he'll get recalled. So next season, he's still in the mix, certainly, because I love Liam Miller. Schafferberg looked really good in the minutes he played when he came in. But Ali just does a job, right? Doesn't he? He's courageous. He loves to go at a player one-on-one. And I keep hearing rumors he's looking for a move to Europe sooner than later. I think no one's got the job yet. I think, Jimmy, I saw a graphic. I think you guys did like before the game, the question marks and this 11. And it really is like, okay, who's playing with John David? Both wings. And a central midfielder, right? I think that's it. And that's it, because the back four is freaking locked in, I think, at this point. But yeah, there's still plenty of football to find out. I don't think Ali's got it. But it's nice to have that versatility. You guys can play left or right, or can play in a front three if he wants. Can play a variety of positions, and that really helps him. Whereas I think Schafferberg's probably a little bit more stuck in that left wing role. If he's not playing there, he's not playing. Yeah. Which gives maybe Ali the nod somewhat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right about our back line. I just think that just not that long ago, we were thinking, where are we going to find center backs? Like, that's probably our weakest position. And, now we got Bombito and Cornelius. And
amazing, Craig, right? World Cup qualifying is Vittoria and Kamal Miller, who played really well. Don't get me wrong. They were like, Vittoria's a freaking warrior. But we were worried, like, Christ, man, if one of those guys gets hurt, who? And now, like, that's the best center back partnership in CONCACAF. Cornelius, I thought, for me, was a standout player overall in both games. His distribution, a couple of passes, raking diagonals yesterday were fantastic.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Bombito was amazing, I thought.
Oh, yeah, so safe, isn't he? So just
yeah.
But it's the way he reads the game. I wanted to ask, let maybe you, Forrest, about it. I think sometimes just talking about his athleticism does him a disservice. Right, because of course he's lightning quick. He's got the pace, the flat out speed to close down on an attacker who's maybe create a little bit of separation on the dribble, and he can just fix errors, But the way that he sees the game, and then the way that he distributes, the way that he starts the build up for Canada, simple passes, as you're saying. But it's almost like even Robin Fraser was talking about Bombito in glowing terms. But again, the accent is on the athleticism. So I think it's important to underline the fact that he does more than just run fast. And
that's right. That's right. He does. Yeah, his timing, and he very rarely goes to ground unless he absolutely has to. Now, the best defenders are like that. If you find that, you look at old Maldini and guys like him that very rarely went to ground. They were just reading the game so well. I think in the first 20 minutes, Bombito had 2 or 3 really good clearances and well marked and showing his pace as well as his reading of the game.
Yeah. Craig, did you just make a Maldini Bombito comparison?
Pardon me?
Did you just make a Maldini Bombito comparison?
I did.
He's already compared him to Virgil. So now Bombito, the next Virgil, next Maldini. Yeah.
I tell you what, he could be Virgil van Dijk one day. I'm telling you, both of them are absolutely lights out.
I agree with you, Craig. I think when you watch him just through all the phases of the match, he understands every single transition. The way that he reads the game, he's got great pace, but he's just in the right place at the right time. And when he does get on the ball, he sees that space in front of him. He takes it. He's not afraid to. He can play in tight spaces. He reads the ball. He holds the line. I like how quick he gets up as well. Brings the back four with him. I think Nice are going to sell him at some point. They got him for a steal. I think what they get him for about 6-7 million. He'll end up going, and his valuation has got to be about 50 million right now for the performance that he's having in league and international football. I mean, there's no stopping this guy. And why not? You probably get him for about 25 million right now, 30 million. And if I'm a big club, I'm taking a gamble on him. He's a good age. He's got everything, every single attribute that you look for in a center back.
Yeah,
and he could be, because he is the best in CONCACAF right now. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I
Send
think
scouts over to look at him.
I think Canada lucked out. Like we're talking about just, World Cup in Qatar and thinking about, okay, what's next for this team on the back line? And then you luck into, I mean, you've got them kind of on your radar, but I mean, it's not only the individual performances that Bombito and Cornelius are putting in Sharms, but it's the way that they're performing together. It's that partnership and to see that blossom, right?
Yeah, exactly. They read off each other so well. And, you see Cornelius at Marseille every week walking into that starting 11. You see, minutes are so important for these guys, right? And these are two players that there's no concern about how much football they're playing. Maybe they're playing too much football. That's the concern. Got to rest them at some point. I do wonder about the Gold Cup squad because that's a chance to win a trophy again, right? And there aren't many. That'll be the last competitive window before the World Cup, which friendly's coming up. And I know you got that four nation, the He Believes Cup earlier in the year.
I love that.
Again, it's friendlies. So I think you got to go with a strong squad. Now, maybe you can rest. Maybe Afonso needs a rest. Maybe there's a couple of players that can rest. Actually, Afonso will be with the Club World Cup, right, with Bayern Munich.
Yeah, but almost certainly also without Eustachio and Tajon potentially, right, for this Gold Cup roster.
Yeah, but it can still be strong. And what an opportunity for someone to stake a claim. Well, I mean, I don't think Eustachio's got anything to worry about, nor does Fonzie, but maybe Tajon does a little bit if someone steps into that right wing and looks great.
Sorry, I wanted to jump in just before we get going. But Sharms, what's your biggest? You were at site at SoFi Stadium. It's going to be a well-used stadium in the next year or so. What was your next year and a half? What's your biggest takeaway other than the lack of vitamin C ingredients in your in your
diet
menus? Yeah.
SoFi, I'd say SoFi Stadium. I mean, it's a typical modern stadium. They spend like billions on their stadiums in the States, and you can tell it is spectacular, but there's no character. It's very, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but the days of the old charismatic stadiums, the old trough urinal mindset, it ain't happening. This is a bit of a shame. But the pitch was small, and Jesse Marsch complained about that. He goes, when you build these great stadiums, surely there's a way to figure out to get a proper size pitch on there. Because for a team like Canada, with that pace, you want to have the full size pitch. This was a small pitch, very tight. So that's frustrating. But yeah, the stadium itself, I mean, I know some stadium nerds out there, friends of mine who travel North America and the world to see these great stadiums and they love them, but this is pretty amazing. Although getting to your freaking parking spot's a nightmare. They closed down all these roads. Crazy. It took us about half an hour to find our spot. Although freaking Cara got straight into their VIP parking. Didn't pay a cent. We paid $74.
Oh my God.
And Cara had the parking pass, hadn't paid yet. Asked the security guy, how do I get into my parking spot? He goes, are you a performer? He asked her, are you a performer? And she went, no. He goes, I park over there in the VIP, like the best freaking parking spot in the place for nothing. Anyway.
The benefit of being beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say, me and Sean, the camera guy.
That's nice of you to say that about Sharms.
No, that's why Sharms
$74 Greg, for a reason.
5 miles away.
Yes, exactly. You, $74.
It's interesting what you say, about the pitch, Sharms. I'd be curious to know the dimensions. Because of course that's a consideration for this Canadian men's national team, right? Yeah. You want to play on a 120 by 90 if you can every single time to just absolutely overwhelm the opponent. That's what we did at Nebraska. All of our pitch was redesigned to make sure it was at the maximum allowable by FIFA and the NCAA.
So that so at Nebraska they even approved removing those seats. Like, I mean, they're going to lose a few thousand fans for the pitch.
That's right. It was to our benefit.
Yeah,
our philosophy and our style of play.
But it's true. It's a big deal, though, isn't it, for a team with a certain style, a certain pace in this case with Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a big pitch. So yeah, that was frustrating Jesse Marsch. But yeah, the stadium as a whole, it's just something really unbelievable. And massive concourses, right? So, you go to the Rogers Centre or these tin boxes in Canada, and they're not redesigned for 50,000 people. And it feels like it. The concessions, the washrooms. I didn't line up for one piss. How about that? Walk right in. That to me is what's important about a stadium. If I'm not lining up for a piss, I'm happy.
I could just see you standing there having a pee, just going, "This is magic." Yeah, this is what I expect.
I noticed in LA, all the urinals are very low. In Canada, I think maybe it's the average Los Angelesian short.
I don't know. I mean, in America, everything's
really
bigger usually.
You go into the Oompa Loompa stall, or
Maybe that's what it is.